Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for 10 to 14 days for today's second video. Day 10 will take us to the 11th of October, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. Maybe we'll take a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at CFS V2 for the next 4 weeks at the end of the video, and I shall get time for that for you in a moment. Just say that first video today was our 6th UK weather forecast. Please like, share, and subscribe on all of today's videos and content. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. The GavsWeatherVids 2025 calendar is now available for you to buy, everybody. So we've been showing you daily picture photo reveals over the past 12 days, building up to today. Today we have launched our calendar, and it's out there for everybody. So if you would like to buy the GavsWeatherVids Viewer Photographer 2025 calendar, all you do is come to the GavsWeatherVids PayPal page, sign up your PayPal account, and send £12.50 to GavsWeatherVids. That's how much the calendar is costing. That's £10 for the calendar, £2.50 postage and packaging, and we shall process your order and get your calendar out to you. We're saying UK residents only, please. That does include Northern Ireland and also the Channel Islands. So thank you so much, everybody. We already had a few orders coming in, so a lot of interest, a lot of demand for the calendar. Thank you so much to all of you who have placed orders so far, and those that's, going to place orders as well. And thank you so much to everybody who submitted their viewer photography as well. Thank you so much to the GavsWeatherVids community for helping us to create this wonderful calendar. It's one of the best things I've ever been involved in, this calendar development. I'm so pleased with how the calendar has come out, and thank you so much to James 298 and also to Almost Like a Boss, who have been so helpful in creating a calendar. James has created a calendar, and Boss has done a lot of work on our Discord server as well. So thank you so much to James and Boss for all of the help on the GavsWeatherVids 2025 calendar. And yeah, it's out there, so if you want it, then fill your boots. And thank you so much, everybody, for that. Right, okay, let's start. You find a link to GavsWeatherVids PayPal in the description, by the way, with the video. Okay, let's start off then in the subtropical Atlantic. Oh, check this out. We've got 3 interest areas. Got a yellow X just here. We've got Tropical Storm Kirk, and we've got a red X just there. So the yellow X is disturbance 1 with a 40% chance of cyclone formation in the next 7 days. That's one to watch. May or may not develop into a tropical storm. We have got a red X just here, which is disturbance 2. So, everyone has an 80% chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 days and a 90% chance in the next 7 days. Looks like that's going to become a tropical storm and or hurricane imminently. Then we've got tropical storm Kirk, giving maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour with a minimum set pressure of 998 millibars. So if you click on Kirk, you've already seen it. You can see this is going to become a hurricane shortly. By tomorrow, Wednesday, it will be hurricane by the end of the week, up to major hurricane status as it pushes northwards through the North Atlantic. It doesn't look like that's going to impact anywhere directly up to the weekend, just within the wider waters of the Atlantic Ocean. But certainly a very impactful storm. If we go to discussion just there, we can see that this is going to become a very high-end Category 3, major Category 3 hurricane, giving maximum sustained winds at its peak in 72 and 96 hour time of 125 miles per hour. Now, that's just shy of a Category 4 hurricane, and of course, that's like 3-4 days away, so there is the potential for that to power up further from that, so this might end up as a Category 4 hurricane. It's certainly, it's not that far away from it there at 72 and 96 hours. So Kirk looks like going to become a monster, and we may find ourselves in the UK and Ireland getting some impacts from Kirk, not as a hurricane, of course, but as a major area of low pressure a little bit further down the track. So more about that when we start going through the chart data. Right, central England temperature has been confirmed at 14 degrees, 14.0 from Hadley. That's just 0.5 of a degree above the 61 to 1990 average. I think it's a little bit below average for 91 2020, but, you know, within half a degree of average anyway. So, we just stopped short, tipping into the 13th. If we had another day, September had 31 days rather than 30, I assume that probably would have ticked down to 13.9. But anyway, 14.0, it certainly is interesting, but that comes out as the same CET as June. Again, so we talked about this yesterday, of course. Last year we had June and September with the exact same CET. That time it was 17.0 for both months. This time, both months coming out 14.0. So that's quite unusual and doesn't happen all that often. We had July at 16.3, about average, and then we have a warmest September, 17 degrees. Overall, it looks like warmest August, I should say, at 17 degrees. Overall, it looks like the monthly numbers have come down, doesn't it, after the warm start to the year. So it had January 1 degree above average, February was 4 degrees above average, March was 2.5 degrees above average. April was nearly 2 degrees above average, and May was nearly 3 degrees above average. And then June comes in about average, July just a little bit above average, but, you know, basically average, really. And then we have August coming in a bit warmer, and then September goes back more or less to average again. So it definitely looks like the warmth that we have through the first half of the year kind of drained away at the moment. We're not getting notably cold months at the moment, not notably below average, but it certainly looks like the warm anomalies, the big anomalies, 4 degrees above average, those anomalies, it looks like those have faded away since June. So they could come back, of course, but we should wait and see where things go. At the moment, it looks like we're on a little bit of a cooling trend there, I have to say. And possibly continuing into October as well. These were GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. Red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. So you're going to be a little bit below average to a little bit below over the next few days. Ticking up as you get through to the weekend and the beginning of next week, but only associated with an area of low pressure. And then for the second week of October, coming back down again. And overall, looks like we're going to be slightly below average, if anything, with the upper air temperatures for the next couple of weeks, albeit with quite a bit of scatter. But I suppose more impactfully, given how wet it has been through this September, is rainfall, because we've got quite a bit of rain around today, of course. Then we will get a few days of dry, so if you're fed up with the rain, to be honest, I'm really getting fed up with it now as well. I looked out of the window as I'm recording this here at the Towers, and it's been pouring down all morning. It's still pouring down out there, so it's a very, very grim day here in the Towers yet again. And, well, it's no day in paradise, but I wouldn't mind some dry weather. And there is going to be some dry weather once today's out of the way. We'll have a drying trend through the remainder of the week and just to start the weekend. But over the weekend, starts to turn more unsettled from the north and west. And next week is certainly looking, really quite wet, and that carries on into the middle of October as well. So if you want some dry weather, make the most of this drier window, I think, that's opening up for the middle and second half of this week. Make the most of that, because the deluge will be back in business again next week, I'm afraid. Temperature anomalies from the 1st to 9th of October. Just a little bit below average, not a particularly big deviation though, but a little bit above average, I should say. Precipitation anomalies, this is quite rare, quite unusual. Coming out a bit drier than average from the 1st to the 9th of October. That's not going to last by the time we get to the end of this week, looking at these anomaly maps for next week, then I reckon that will be back to wetter than average. But we are going to have a few days of drier weather, so as I say, make the most of that window. Latest winter map from earth.nullschool.net shows the reason it's so grim across east and southeast regions is that we've still got this area of low pressure stuck between East Anglia and the Low Countries. It's taking its time to move off, and it's bringing in this northeasterly wind. This would probably have been a snowmaker if we'd have been about 3 months further on, but of course we're not, with the 1st of October, not the 1st of January, so it's just a load of cold rain that's being dumped into the east of the southeast. Eventually, when that gets out of the way, we get a break, though, with some higher pressure. And that takes us very nicely through to chart data. So, let's have a latest. Oh, sorry, when we see our latest UK Met Euro run, looking midnight on Friday, high pressure sitting over the country, being mostly dry and fine conditions at the end of the week. Haven't been able to say that for a little while, have we? However, it doesn't last, so by the time we go through into the weekend, the high pressure collapses, moves off to Eastern Europe, low pressure then heads in from off the Atlantic, bringing an unsettled start to next week. The showers, long spells, rain. That's as far as we get to with the UK Met. Gets us to midnight next Tuesday, by which time I think that is the remains of the Hurricane Kirk moving into the North Atlantic. Icon again has that ridge for Friday, collapsing through the weekend as low pressure gradually edges in from the Atlantic. The east and southeast might hang on to a dry weekend. Just northern and west regions will turn wetter through the weekend, and by the beginning of next week, low pressure will be throwing up further rain bands, I think, across the country. And that's how we end up with Icon on Tuesday next week, 8th of October. Low pressure out to west, bringing wet weather, and there's the remains of Hurricane Kirk just there. Then we've got the KMA once more with that weak ridge collapsing into the weekend as low pressure takes over. So turning wetter through the weekend. And into next week, where we've got high pressure building up towards Greenland and winds going into a cold, well, quite a cold easterly here. So probably not quite as unsettled actually for KMA for next week, at least initially, but quite chilly. And then this area of low pressure later next week, though, beyond day 10, starts moving in from the Atlantic. That does contain the remains of Hurricane Kirk, I think. So eventually we do get some wet and windy weather from Hurricane, or the remains of Hurricane Kirk there from the KMA. A little bit drier though, but a little bit cold I think for next week with the KMA. Right GFS midnight run. Once more has us under an area of high pressure on Friday. The ridge collapses into the weekend. Low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic, bringing plenty of rain through the early part of next week. There's the remains of Hurricane Kirk, I think, just there. And as we go through next week, Kirk getting ever closer to the southwest approaches. Not a hurricane, not a tropical storm, of course, but, you know, as an area of low pressure. And eventually, Kirk goes down to the Bay of Biscay. Actually, of the rains of Kirk going down to Bay of Biscay. But just keep low pressure through the west of Europe. So looking very unsettled anyway next week, with plenty of rain to come. Got a mid-Atlantic ridge building here through the North Atlantic as well. So becoming colder progressively through next week. Winds going back into the north again. That's been a recurring pattern through September, of course. We still see that playing out with model output through October as well, potentially. Winds in from north, high pressure out to west, low pressure to the east. And then we go through towards the middle part of October with a slight change as high pressure starts ridging in from the Atlantic. It's in a position to keep wind in from northwest, so it's going to be quite cool, but probably a little bit drier there at the end of GFS midnight run. GFS 6Z in comparison, again showing that high pressure still in control for Friday, but by Saturday and Sunday, lower pressure coming in off the Atlantic, certainly bringing wet wind weather into the west over the weekend. The east might hang on to dry weather, but even that's questionable. By the start of next week, low pressure has well and truly taken over, and we're starting to build up some high pressure around Greenland again, so northern blocking still sitting there away to the north. There's the remains, I should say, of the Hurricane Kirk in the North Atlantic. And the remains of Kirk getting closer and giving us a direct impact by day 10 and beyond. So look at that, smell of properly wet and windy weather there around Friday the 11th, Saturday 12th of October, around day 10, 11. A proper direct impact from the remains of Kirk there with some very wet and windy weather. And by the way, we've got remains of another feature of a tropical storm or hurricane down towards the Azores there by the 12th of October. Very lively Atlantic at the moment. That one goes to Biscay, and we turn the wind into the north as Kirk clears away to our east. So winds turning into a north-northeasterly, becoming colder in towards the middle part of October. Could be some overnight frost and maybe some wintry showers in the north. We end up going back into milder southwesterly winds by the 17th of October. Whose birthday is that? I wonder. I'm trying to forget it. I'll be 47 this year. Gracious me, I'm trying to forget it. I'll probably spend the day in bed with the duvet over my head. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please can you like, share, and wait till I get to 50, mate. You think that's bad? Wait till you see how I react to becoming 50 in 3 years. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please can you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much everyone for doing that. Why not drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our videos and content. And don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids and get them to subscribe too. Thank you so much everyone for doing that. Our calendar has launched, everyone. We've launched our 2025 GavsWeatherVids calendar. Now, if you would like your calendar, again, all you have to do is go to the GavsWeatherVids PayPal account. Send £12.50 to the GavsWeatherVids PayPal, and we will process your order and get your calendar out to you in the next few days. And we thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. It's unbelievable. Thank you so much, everyone. And by the way, I only put around 2 or 3 subscribers to get to 18.8k, so we're very close now to 18,800 subscribers. Right, GM, again, with high pressure in control for Friday, still more or less in control for Saturday as well, but by Sunday starting to slip away into Europe, low pressure beginning to come in from off the Atlantic. Next week looking very unsettled, low pressure parking itself just to the west of the UK and Ireland with plenty of rain bands coming around that. There's the remains of Kirk, I think, just there as well by next Thursday, giving a dose of wet and windy weather around days 9 and 10. Very unsettled next week. And then the ECM rounds it all off with high pressure dominating the weather on Friday. Still more or less on Saturday. By Sunday, low pressures coming in off the Atlantic, bringing wet weather into the west. Anyway, next week looking properly unsettled with low pressure in control to the west of the UK and Ireland. There's remains of the Hurricane Kirk just there, I believe. And just a very unsettled weather pattern, really, through the course of next week. Tropical low pressure dominates across the north and west of Europe. Heavy rain in many areas. Rather cool side projection as well. And we start bringing in the wind from the northeast. So cold air starting to move in with these areas of low pressure by around days 8, 9, and 10. No, that's the setup for day 10. Looks pretty grim, I have to say. Somewhere within those areas of low pressure, so we've got lows there, and over here, and down there. Somewhere within all of that is the remains of Hurricane Kirk. But certainly looks very wet anyway, and it looks pretty cold to the north as this ridge of the Atlantic again goes back towards Greenland, starts to pull wind into the northeast. And there, by the way, we've got the remains of yet another tropical storm and or hurricane moving into the North Atlantic by day 10. This is a precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from Tibet.com. The rain continues across these eastern, southeastern regions through today. Oh dear, I thought this would be moving off this afternoon, but it looks like it's going to be more this evening and tonight that the rain finally pushes off. And even tomorrow there could be some showers coming in across the southeast corner. However, the trend is going to dry out. So by Thursday and Friday, we're all more or less dry. But notice rain in the Atlantic already starting to threaten. And as we go through the weekend, well, the wet weather gathers to the west and south. And next week we have showers and longer spells of rain coming in from off the Atlantic in what looks like a pretty unsettled week to come. These are the odds on the table from the ECM ensemble today for day 10 from the Icelandic Met Office. Gets us to the 11th of October. 16 members of the ECM ensembles with a mid-Atlantic ridge going towards Greenland. So a blocking high, basically. Trough of low pressure through the UK and Ireland. That's going to be quite cool, maybe cold and wet. We've got 13 with high pressure again in the North Atlantic up towards Greenland. Low pressure pressure underneath it. That looks pretty unsettled. 7, high pressure again up towards Greenland, Iceland. Low pressure just west of UK and Ireland. That looks pretty wet and windy. We've got 6, including the operational run, with deep low pressure across the northwest Europe combined with high pressure in the Atlantic, cold and wet. With that includes the operational run. We've got 5, very similar, high pressure again in the North Atlantic, low pressure over top of UK, Ireland, cold and wet. And then we've got 4 with high pressure in the North Atlantic, low pressure over France. So that could be a little bit drier up in the north. But basically unsettled. All the options look unsettled there, really, at day 10. And potentially quite cool or even cold as well. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. Gets us to the 16th of October. 10 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure in the Atlantic up towards Greenland. Blocking high continues. A trough over the northwest Europe. So basically unsettled, cool, and wet weather continuing up to the middle of October. There's 10, number 10, high pressure in the Atlantic to our northwest, low pressure to our east and southeast. Winds coming in from more of a north or northeasterly direction. It's going to be a bit drier, still potentially quite wet for the south though on the east, and potentially quite cold too. We've got 9 with low pressure more or less over top of country. It's actually unsettled. 8 with a nice ridge building down from the north. That's probably going to be quite cold, but should be mostly dry. You know, by day, probably quite pleasant. By night, probably quite cold. 7 with high pressure up towards Scandinavia and winds going around to an easterly direction. So that's going to be a drier option again, but could be quite chilly. And final 7 with low pressure more or less to the south and to the west, bringing further unsettled conditions. So a little bit more in the way of high pressure there at day 14, but certainly at day 10, looking very unsettled. And then we have to see where we go when we get into the middle part of October, whether things start to settle down. If they do, likely to still be quite cool, though, I think. Right, CFS finally beats a 500 millibar height and on, bring it down to week periods. First week period takes us from the 1st to the 7th of October. The next week has blocking area of high pressure towards Greenland and Iceland, and around that we bring the wind in from quite a cold easterly direction, potentially with low pressure in the Atlantic. So relatively dry, but could be quite cold. All change to week 2. It's the 8th to the 14th of October with low pressure dominating across the northwest Europe, still with blocking high pressure around Greenland, so that's much more unsettled, of course. Very wet and quite cool. And then week 3 will be the 15th, 21st of October, low pressure just to the west of UK and Ireland. Still looks unsettled. Probably a bit milder, though, as we should be shifting the wind round to more of the west or southwesterly. But still unsettled. And then week 4 is the 22nd to 28th of October, with high pressure building to the south, to the east and to the northeast. Low pressure easing back into the Atlantic. That might be trying to settle down. Should be quite mild as well. Winds coming up from southwest, and perhaps trying to turn a little bit more settled, although could be showering, especially in the west. We'll see. Long way off. Right, we're done. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much everyone for doing that. Drop a comment. Let's know what you think about this and all of our videos and content. And don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. Get them to subscribe too. Thank you so much everyone for doing that. So just started having on channel 2. Don't forget that the calendar has launched. So if you want your GavsWeatherVids 2025 calendar, fill your boots. It's out there for you. £12.50 to GavsWeatherVids PayPal, and that will get you the calendar. Thank you so much, everyone. And just 3 subscribers, well, 2 or 3, get to 18.8k. So we're so close to 18.8k. Thank you so much, everyone, for that too. Right, just started having on channel tomorrow. We have 16 UK weather forecast. We've got the extended European outlook. Will be live at 6 p.m. with 10 to 14 day out, and then straight after that, I mean literally within like 10 seconds or something, we will be releasing the first sneaky peeky for Christmas. Blimey! Christmas sneaky peeky is getting underway. GavsWeatherVids tomorrow straight after live stream. So going to be an exciting Wednesday. I shall see you on the live, maybe. But for today, anyway, that's it for today's videos and content. You enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.